And I think we're live. I think we're live.
Greetings, world.
Greetings.
Hello
So
there.
we have all the way over to my left, Geoffrey Orthwein. In the center, these are all friends of mine, of course, Sam Mestman, and I'm Richard Taylor, as everybody knows. And Nathan McAvoy gets the first comment. I'm here for the jams. I think Nathan's from England, from the UK, if I'm not mistaken.
I think we're all here for the jams.
Well, there you go. There you go. Let me put that up. So, what's going on with everybody? Before we get started with the summit and OWC and all that, what's going on with you, Jeff?
I've had a busy summer. Not as busy as Sam's, but I've relocated to the East Coast.
You have too? Wait a minute.
I
Wait a
have
minute.
too.
This is the first time I've done one. Everybody's on the East Coast. I think.
We're all in the same time zone. Yeah, I think so.
Well, that's amazing. Scott Simmons is on the East Coast. It's when I do one with him.
Yeah.
And a few other people. But this is the first time that I think all three guests are from the East Coast.
Yeah, I'm over here now, and I've been busy helping Sam out with this global summit that's coming up, and then next we're also early on in pre-production on a film for next spring.
Oh, you are?
That's keeping me busy. Yeah.
So, and then FMC's on the East Coast, New York, right?
Right.
So that's why they always post. I like it when they post East Coast times. That's what I always do. So Nathan said he's in Michigan. I thought he was in the UK.
Oh, fantastic! What part of Michigan? I'm originally from Michigan, so.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was born in Detroit.
Oh, you were?
Yeah. So I'm a Midwesterner at heart.
When I was a teenager, I went to Detroit to meet the Stooges and the MC5.
Nice.
As a young guy, I thought I could go up and just talk to the band. Well, I did, but that's another story. Sam, what about you? You moved back to New Jersey, right? From what I understand?
I'm actually in the suburbs of Philadelphia. Basically, we've been spending the pandemic out in the suburbs. Honestly, we found that was a far better way to ride this out than being in Los Angeles in a tiny apartment, or not really tiny, but relatively tiny, kind of cooped up and doing the city things. We're like, well, why don't we just go ride this out in the suburbs? I just got married over the weekend, and
wait a minute. Let's don't let that slide by. You just got married over this last weekend. That's kind of a big life event, isn't it?
What did you do Saturday night?
Yeah, it was unbelievable. We had an amazing weekend, definitely life-changing, best weekend of my life, quite honestly. So it's definitely, there has been a lot that has happened, I think, since I was last on this show. But the nuts and bolts of it are the world is different now. You don't have to be in a given city or a given place. And so you can start doing some different things and constructing your life in a slightly different way. And I would say that's basically what I've been doing.
Fantastic. So you're working virtually like a lot of people are then?
Yeah. I mean, basically, I am working right out of the suburbs of Philly and doing, kind of the same things I've sort of always done, except now, I think most of the people I talk to are real. I'm hoping that they're real, that they're on my screen a lot. They might be avatars or virtual assistants, but they seem very convincing. So I don't see them as much day to day as I have, but fundamentally, everything is really the same. It's just a little bit bigger, but happening, remotely.
So when you say suburbs of Philly, are you on the southern side of Philly?
Near Villanova. So we're out by Villanova. We are currently freeloading with my wife's parents at the moment because they've got a nice suburban house, and I get to go walk around. And basically, the goal is we're getting a house probably down in Atlanta next year. And that's the current game plan. But at the moment, we're just kind of like everyone else, riding out the insanity and doing that from the safety of the suburbs.
Yes. And Jeff, you said, where on the East Coast are you?
I'm also in Philadelphia. Not different side of town as Sam, but the other north side. So we're close now.
Now, since you and I are Twin Peaks fans and David Lynch fans, Philadelphia is where he recorded Eraserhead. Filmed Eraserhead.
It was, I think some of it was, a fair amount of it was actually shot in California, but he went to school in Philadelphia, and it does feature largely in Agent Cooper's past.
Yeah, well, of course. Now it does now. It does now. With season 3 anyway. So
right.
we have this. So I have a couple of clips. I've been filming. I always film behind the scenes things. So I have a couple of clips we're going to play. I have a clip when I first met Sam in person, and I have a clip when I first met Geoffrey in person. Do you guys know when that was?
Probably Faster Together. A few years back. Is that where we met? Faster Together.
Well, I think
I met you probably at either the Creative Summit or an NAB, and I can't figure out whether it was the first Creative Summit or the first NAB. I'm going to lean towards the first Creative Summit is where I met
It
you.
was indeed.
Right.
The first Creative Summit, 2016, and I think Geoffrey, we met both there. You might not remember this first one, but let me play the video since I've taught. Well, first we have this. This is just the little picture of the lobby, a little video of the lobby to bring back all these memories, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh, wow. It's like a lifetime ago.
Hi, everybody. Sorry you're not here.
Cheers! Good morning from the Final Cut Creative Summit.
It's raining.
It is raining, and the new Final Cut container, of course.
There's news about a new Final Cut?
I believe so.
Holy jamokes!
I love that. Holy jamokes. So let me do. Well, we have this too. I don't know if Sam remembers this or not, but this is. Remember this room? The beginning filming of Off the Tracks. This is where we set it up, the very first filming, and there's Sam.
Oh, man. It's like this is like a lifetime ago. That's crazy.
It was, but don't you miss that
It was
stuff?
a long time ago, yeah.
So
It's
here's
crazy. Yeah.
here's Jeff. This is when I first met you, Jeff. You might not remember this, but I filmed it.
Hello. Sounds like a pro radio show.
So do you remember that?
Broadly, yes.
2016.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
in the expo
Was that
area.
was
There it is.
that the first or that was the second summit, right?
Well, yes, but this was the first one in Cupertino.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, the
one was in
first
San Jose.
one was in that's
San
right.
Jose.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
And this
man. Yeah.
this is when I first met Sam.
Hello, sir.
This is live, Facebook.
This is live on Facebook.
Yes.
Have you seen I have not showed this to you yet. This
The
is
handle?
the first time. The handle. This is the handle. On the jelly.
Handle for the
Oh,
win.
man.
This is it.
There it is.
It's shared storage designed for editors. That's kind of what it is.
So I pulled those clips this morning. I had to pull them.
Nice.
So-
So you met us at the same summit, same one.
Yes. 2016, and I was there because of Sam. Sam had got me there.
All right.
He made the connections with future media concepts and stuff, and that's why I was there.
Yeah, this is definitely, it's like a trip down memory lane, and now it's it's amazing how far technology has come too, where you can just kind of plug all that stuff in. So it's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you notice the Facebook Live clip that I played of you, Sam, when I met you, was 720 by 720. That's what they used to broadcast, and that's what they recorded. 720 by, not even 1280. It's 720 by 720. Square.
I did
Where
notice
you
the
can get on
square
Instagram
format.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I don't know if the Creative Summit, Global Summit this year is virtual again. It was initially going to be live, and then things didn't work out, as far as pandemic and everything, so they switched it back over to virtual. But I miss those in-person things. Don't you guys?
Oh, for
yeah.
sure.
The only question I think is whether this is going to, in what state is in person going to come back? I don't think we know right now what it's really going to look like. I think, and we wanted to do some big things around this in person, and there was a lot of ideas flying around that just the second Delta started to pop up just became kind of impractical because we didn't want to create an event that no one was going to show up to. But I do wonder, when everything does settle back down, what will people want the live experience to be? But we really tried to settle on what the best possible virtual event we could put on, which is finally making this free and open to the public.
So that I'm curious about that. How did that happen? Because normally last year it was reasonable, a couple $100, $199 I think it was, or so. This year it's free, which is fantastic. I mean, is that? I know this year OWC is a big part of it, right? Or the main sponsor, or one of the main sponsors.
Yeah, so OWC is stepping up in a big way and basically, helping make a lot of this free and open to everybody, and part of it is we want this to start getting out past the usual people that come every time that can make it there and, start doing some things, frankly, that some of the other guys do at this point, which is get out to a much wider net and start making this a little bit more accessible, to people. And I think for the majority of people want their education around this topic to be free. I don't think people have a lot of disposable income to be putting into, paid training for and certainly not for the YouTube creators and some of the people who are just starting. We wanted to make this more accessible for beginning creators as well. And that's really, and the idea is and OWC is stepping up, with Apple to sort of do that and kind of make it so that this conference, it doesn't matter who you are or where you live anymore, you can be a part of it.
Yeah, and I just to follow up on that, I think conceptually, the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit in the past has been obviously an amazing in-person experience, and there's a lot of Final Cut Pro specific information there, and there's also a lot of career and business information that honestly is NLE agnostic. And I think when we were talking about this event, we definitely wanted to kind of aim more for that target of, yes, there's the Final Cut Pro specific things that we all love and that we're all there for, but we don't have to stay right in that narrow lane. We can really open this up to creators of all stripes, of all levels as well, beginners, intermediate folks, or maybe experienced editors from other platforms that are dabbling with Final Cut Pro, maybe want to find out a little bit more. You remove the barrier of entry of the price tag, and we can really open up those conversations to a lot more people and bring in a lot more voices, and that got really exciting.
Well, yeah, I was really, really pleased when they announced that it's going to be for free this year, because that's, normally in person they normally had up to 150 people besides the people that work the event, and virtually last year I'm sure it was hundreds more than that, and now when it's free, it's going to be even bigger because free, right?
I can already tell you that probably we're double, if not triple, already the number of signups, that were there last year, and we're still more than a month out. So, our goal is to give the same level of talks that was there last year for a virtual event, and probably, I think this turns into a hybrid thing at some point where, you have the in-person part where it caters to people who want to come be there in person and network and do all the associated things and be in the room and have the conversations. That was always my favorite part, was the conversations outside the talks that I enjoyed. But for people who can't be there, there's no reason that you can't get the talks, and why wouldn't that just be free and accessible? The goal is to help people solve workflow problems and advance in their career and do a lot of that. So, I think this format, long term is like, I don't see any reason why this wouldn't just continue and probably just add the in-person component, in some capacity.
That's exactly what I would expect now that they've started this. Not just them, but everybody has started this. People who can't make it from overseas, hundreds and thousands of people. Like from Australia, when I talk to my friends from Australia that come here, Ian Anderson, Lee Herbert, they spend 19 hours on an airplane to get there. So if they can't get there, they could still teach a class, or they can still, participate virtually, which is a lot more reasonable for them. So what are some of the exciting things? So first off, OWC and LumaForge have teamed up together. LumaForge is now part of OWC, because we didn't talk about that.
Yeah, LumaForge was acquired by OWC during the pandemic, and basically, OWC is the parent company, so it is, the full team is still over there doing everything that we do, but it is now just a much larger sandbox. And so being with OWC allows us to do a lot more things. We're no longer this like tiny little startup that has to punch above its weight. This is an international company with resources around the world. And, we're just able to do more, which is really the idea here. And what I can say is that, Larry O'Connor, the CEO, is as knowledgeable and as committed to education and all of the other things, the environment, and a host of other things that, basically is just allowing us a much larger sandbox to do all the things that we used to do, and is very committed to the Apple ecosystem and all of these same things that there's probably no one in the world who knows more about Thunderbolt and how that applies to the Mac than he does, quite honestly.
Right. So I've been buying OWC products for years and years and years. As a matter of fact, this just came in. Look, I just got this. You guys remember these? Firewire.
That is OG.
Iconic.
That is,
Yeah.
How did you even? Wow.
No, I'm just teasing. I've had this sitting on my shelf.
Is that still in play?
I was wondering whether you got that from like the Wayback Machine or something.
No, I actually used these at one point. Connecting to my old G3 Mac. I had a beige G3, not even a one of the color, the gray ones or the blue ones. I had a beige G3. I didn't know anything in those days. I started web design at a community college, and then I switched over to video production. I did tape deck-to-deck editing, and then I said, let me see what this computer stuff's about. Started on Premiere. This is pre-Final Cut, so it must have been 97, 98. Started with Premiere on the Mac, and I went to my instructor and I said, I'm getting ready to buy my first computer. What do I want? He goes, don't get a Mac. He goes, get a PC. There's no drivers for the Mac, no equipment for the Mac. But I didn't listen to him. I didn't listen to him because I went online, and everywhere I went, people were saying, if you edit video, get a Macintosh. If you edit video, so I did. And then Premiere dropped support for the Mac. Premiere 6, was it? 6.5, something like that. So right at that same time, Final Cut came out. I said, well, here you go. So been on it ever since. But anyway, that's when I had these. I have a bunch of these things, but they're so iconic. I mean, the clear plastic case and stuff.
Right.
Yeah. What are they? Was that like 100 gigs basically you could put on there?
Let me see what this is.
You can get a full terabyte on it?
60.
120. 120 gigabytes.
Crazy.
Nice.
Now the flash drives are that big.
Well, of standard def DV footage, 120 gigs goes pretty far.
Sure, exactly. That's exactly correct. So what do we have coming up this year that's special? Are you guys having any sessions yourselves?
Sam, you're stepping in, aren't you?
I think I've got one. I actually, I think we're still finalizing the grid. We've been focused on everyone else first, so I've been,
Right.
I think I'm
You're the
doing
pinch hitter.
something. Yeah, it'll likely be around something for independent filmmakers because I've been doing a lot of We Make Movies stuff as well in the last little while. So that'll probably be where I focus. But we're working. Jeff is way deeper into the grid than I am at the moment, and we've got a host of. Well, actually, what'll be interesting is this year the Apple presentation will be live as well. So that'll be. I think there's going to be a lot of stuff coming out of this that it's interesting just because all of these. If the grid is up, I'd be curious what everyone else thinks is interesting because we're so deep into it that I'm like, to be honest, I haven't even really gotten to the point where I'm like, this talk versus that talk. It's more just like, okay, do we have everything? How does this lay out on the grid? How are we laying out the grid conceptually day by day? Like, what are these things? Like, how does one thing complement the next?
And that's one thing that we've been working on just as as for the new audience as well as returning, is kind of carving up the schedule of the conference into kind of theme days, essentially. So the first day, which will be Monday the 8th, that's the sort of new to me day, and that's the day that we're going to be focusing on. Not just newer Final Cut Pro editors, but again, that those editors who may be very savvy in Avid or Resolve, but are coming into the Final Cut ecosystem new. Then we're going to have a mobile filmmaking day where it's really kind of highlighting a lot of iOS production, iOS filmmaking and editing. There's going to be more professional focused days. So there's kind of a broad focus on each day. So if there's one area that you're interested in, you can kind of try and clear your schedule for that day.
Right. So as you might know, I got the iPhone 13 Pro Max, the new one. Let me just. I knew that Pro Max was going to be eating a lot of footage, space up, so I got the 1 terabyte version.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see how that.
So I got the 1 terabyte version.
Oh, I think we've got a little bit of an echo coming now.
Getting the feedback, yeah.
Yeah, basically, I think if you can just tell where all of this is going, it's very clear that Apple is designing a media ecosystem, at this point, and so, this is opening up to a much wider base of creators, I think, than we've ever really even comprehended. And this ecosystem, like the fact that ProRes is now coming to the iPhone and all of this stuff, and the fact that you can take the cell phone in your pocket and shoot ProRes and do all of that is just really a sign of where this is headed. And I don't think the industry really kind of fully realizes it at this point. And what I don't actually know what happens when 20, 30, 40, 50, 60% of the population is able to make HDR quality movies. What does the distribution network of that look like? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, so with the iPhone 13 Pro, first off, Filmic Pro came out with the ProRes version. They beat Apple to releasing the ProRes. I thought that was going to be an iOS update, but somehow they came out with it yesterday or 2 days ago, whenever it was. And I just started playing around with it and shooting it. And of course, it's very large files, let's say, per minute or whatever. I think it's like 6 gigabytes a minute in 4K, something like that.
Yeah, that's going to be the one problem I think with this. Which is the other hidden problem is that the iPhone is still Lightning cable based.
Yes,
which
absolutely.
is going to make for very slow transfers for some of this ProRes footage. So that's the big, for me, problem. I don't know why the iPhone isn't just USB-C at this point.
It's got to be next
silly,
year.
but-
Absolutely has to be next year. I can't deal with this anymore. I agree with you 100%, Sam. That Lightning connection is just too slow, but it's what we have. I get a kick out of people who are saying, how do you transfer those large ProRes files? And I say, exactly the same way I transferred my large H.264 files. It's exactly the same. It's just a matter of, I have a 512, the iPhone 12 Pro Max. It's a 512 gigabytes. I'm still transferring files, same, large files, so it's the same thing. The bottleneck is absolutely Lightning.
And look, here's the thing, these are definitely first world problems to be having. I think these are, considering how all of this stuff is advancing, just if you look 2, 3, 4, 5 years into the future, this is going to be everywhere and easy and fast. So really the question is, and my guess is Final Cut will probably be on iOS devices and so the way that people do everything is going to be just far easier, more straightforward and simple, but also all of the content is going to be even more disposable than it already is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So here's one of the problems with the iPhone 13 Pro Max. They have so many different variables on what you can shoot. ProRes, it has limitations. Okay, it can shoot 30 frames per second, I think, only at this point. 4K video has the widest amount of variables. It has 24, 25, 30, and 60. 4K, but that's H.264. Then you have slow-mo shoots 1080p up to 240, but 720, I think it's 720, only shoots 30p. So people are getting things, and then you have the cinematic mode. People think that you can shoot the cinematic mode with ProRes. You can't. You cannot. The cinematic mode is only in I think it's 264, I think that's what I'm shooting. And that's only 1080p. 30 frames per second. So these things are not, you don't have a whole lot of variety of mixing and matching. They're very segregated. They are very specific. 30p seems to be the default frame rate of the iPhone 13. And 1080, you cannot shoot 24. 1080 cinematic, you can't shoot 24 frames per second. You can only shoot 30 frames per second. It seems kind of counterintuitive, but anyway, it's a little bit jumbled right now.
Software update. My guess is there'll be a software update that fixes that.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. That is exactly what I'm thinking too. So let's get back to the summit. I'm going to pull that schedule up again. Program 2021. So, Jeff, as you said, the first day is new to me. This isn't just for beginners. It's also for people who are coming from another platform.
Yeah. Sort of a warm up into the ecosystem. And as the sessions pop in there, you'll see, some are designed for new editors or maybe coming from iMovie, and some are designed more for coming from a track-based system. But you don't have to necessarily spend the time on like elementary editorial language. The session for the track-based editor isn't going to have what's a J cut, what's an L cut. There's a presumption that people understand editing. It's just understanding the Final Cut Pro ecosystem.
Right. And then day 2, art and artistry in the ecosystem, elevating your skills. And now we split it up into 2 rooms. This
Yeah.
is one of the advantages to getting the VIP package. Is you can't be in two rooms at the same time unless you have two. Maybe if you have two computers, you can. But the VIP package, you'll be able to watch the recording of whatever you missed at any point, or if you're sleeping, or if you're working at that point.
Right. Yeah, and I mean that's the cost of the VIP package is certainly worth it for what you get. Obviously, so much is available for free, but as you say, the recording's available and everything else. It's worth spending the extra bucks, especially because you've saved it on a flight or a hotel.
No, exactly. So it's $199, but is it special? I think $149 until November the 1st. I think that's what it is, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think there's a promotion there. Yeah, running for that.
And I'm going to announce this right now. I'll be giving away a few VIP passes on another version of Final Cut Pro TV coming up.
Excellent.
Closer as
Fantastic.
we get to the actual summit.
Nice.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of exciting stuff coming in the summit. A lot, much of it has been announced in the grid. There's certainly some big announcements to come. We're working on all those right now. So hopefully people are getting excited.
So there was an announcement about Vince Vaughn being a speaker. Is he still going to be a speaker?
Yeah, he's coming in. He's been working with Steve Douglas in Chicago. And Sam has been working with him as well. He's got just a fantastic story, working with children, middle school students and people with learning disabilities, helping them kind of recraft their educational experience. So he's gonna come in with Steve Douglas and tell their story. Obviously, this was built around their media education was built around Final Cut Pro, and it's a really great, inspiring story.
So is he an editor, Vince Vaughn, or is he just like a producer, director?
Sam would be able to speak more accurately to that, although I'm not sure if Sam is still with us. It looks like he's jammed up.
Oh.
No, I don't. He's not an editor himself. I believe I don't believe so. But he's working with the kids in crafting, like I said, their kind of educational experience and working a lot in media literacy, which is an important topic for him, for that program, and honestly, it's a hugely important topic, an area that I think most traditional educational systems are kind of missing. We're increasingly a media savvy society, and media literacy is just something that's falling by the wayside. So having somebody really focus on that, which is what Steve Douglas has been doing, and then to have the boost of somebody like Vince Vaughn come in and really push that as a new form of education has really been empowering for those kids, especially for again the students that have particular challenges like dyslexia, that have trouble in traditional learning environments. Being able to use mobile phones for filmmaking and use Final Cut Pro for the editing has really enabled so many of these kids to express themselves and to find success in an educational environment where they've otherwise had struggles.
Exactly. So we're trying to connect up with Sam here.
We're trying to get Sam. Yeah. So, I mean, Sam's been working. I know OWC has been supporting that program. It's a fantastic program. And I'm looking forward to hearing more from Steve Douglas about that and Vince Vaughn, in their conversation. Cause it's the kind of thing that to me, it's one of the best case scenarios of what we as media makers do. We're all putting out our own content, but to be able to work with children that are coming up, adolescents and teenagers, and helping them not only find their voice, but find their strengths in avenues that maybe weren't there before.
Here we go. So I know Sam's really involved with the educational. Let me, he's joining again. Good
Yeah,
old
yeah.
internet stuff. Sam Green Room. Now, let me see if he comes up here. Yeah, there he is. You're
There he
back.
is. There he is.
There we
Sorry,
go.
sorry.
Hey guys, sorry about that. I'm
there
not
we
sure
go.
what happened.
I saw you in the green room, Sam, but it was kind of grayed out, and I put you back in, and you're right back in again. So
Yep, I was.
Yeah.
No, I logged back out again and back in.
Yes.
Anyway, I'm here.
anyway, we got
about that.
here's the good comment. Nathan McAvoy. I knew Sam was a replicant. That's what he said. Because
There it is. It's possible.
Well,
You got
we're
me.
back with-
Anything's possible.
We're back
I'm
with
actually
Sam version
deep
2.
yeah,
Yeah, it
exactly.
is.
So, Sam, I was talking about, a little bit about what Vince Vaughn and Steve Douglas are going to do at the summit, and their big session, which is going to be fantastic. But you can probably speak a little more accurately on exactly what the program that they're doing in Chicago is.
Yeah, so this is Steve and I started this program. I think this is our 4th year doing Chicago Summer Stories, and basically this year, I guess Steve had known Vince Vaughn, and all of a sudden he heard from Vince, and Vince wanted to get together and do something educational based, and I can honestly say that Vince completely stepped up for these kids. He showed up for every day of the program and taught and was a part of basically the mobile filmmaking curriculum that Steve and I have been doing for years there. And Steve has actually had quite a summer. He went off and from there worked with the Cardinals, and then we worked together working with the Orphan Starfish kids around the world as well. So what's amazing about all of this is just how much you can do educationally, whether it's remotely or in person, using cell phones and all this stuff. And Vince was all in with the kids, helping develop with the stories and do all these things. And it's really turned into just kind of an unbelievable program that is probably significantly ahead of anything I had in film school.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Oh, I mean, I haven't even been in those rooms, and I can validate that for sure. If you can, check out the video that OWC put together about this Chicago program. It's linked off of the Summit website, and you can find it without too much trouble. But if you have 5 minutes, it's worth the time just seeing what they did. And yeah, I mean, talk about just skyrocketing your media skills. I mean, I agree. It's compared to my education in film school, it's a much different world.
Yeah. I avoided film school. I took other kinds of school. I took School of Hard Knocks. I was in construction for quite a while, and picked up video editing in the 90s.
Probably a more practical approach to life and making money.
Well, it's
Fully agree.
I own a
You also
house. I own a
you
house.
sidestepped the debilitating student debt. So
Exactly.
smart choice.
Yeah. Plus, I really liked it. I did carpentry work. I also, when I was a lot younger, I even operated heavy equipment on highways, backhoes and stuff. But that was a long time ago. Then I got involved in, I got inside in commercial carpentry, and I just like working with my hands. Always have, guitar in the background. I play guitar, so, I own a house because of that construction stuff. So now I can do what I want. Look what I have. Now you guys on here, I'm talking to you guys on the East Coast anyway, talking about Final Cut Pro, which is one of my passions, of course.
Well, what I would say is we're entering a world where you don't have to only be one thing. I mean, you can now be in construction and make movies. I would very much tell anybody who's looking to go to college or looking to do something, probably not to go to film school. You can become a great filmmaker just by making stuff online, but really think about how you want to provide for yourself and, those around you in a way where it's a very competitive field, filmmaking, and especially YouTube and all of the other platforms. But you also don't need to go to school for that in order to become good at it. So the nice part about where things are now is, I think, whereas when I was going to college, they told you that was literally the only path.
Right. Same with
It
me.
is definitely not the only path anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the filmmaking as a career in whatever particular market you're in. I mean, there's filmmaking as a skill set, and there's filmmaking as storytelling, and there's so many resources for sharpening your skills, for learning your skills, expanding your skills. So if you're going to, I mean, my perspective is if you're going to go to college, focus on the storytelling. That's an important thing to do, and understanding what story you're telling with the tools that you're using. That's the kind of math of filmmaking, and it's important to sharpen both skills.
Absolutely. So let's get back to the schedule for a bit. We're on day, let me see, here we are, webpage. We're on day 2. Let me see, what is it? Register for free. Keynote. So the keynote panels, they haven't been, this is mobile first for Wednesday. I guess this is Wednesday, mobile first. But there's 2 rooms, room 1 and room 2. Some of them are, the keynote obviously is going to be in both. But you have a lot of, I've really, really enjoyed mobile the last few years because of the iPhone, because of the quality of video that thing puts out. Biggest problem with the iPhone is getting good audio in. Now, during the September keynote, one of the filmmakers, when Apple was showing off the cinematic mode, I think it was a woman that was in charge of doing some of those videos, and she came on and said, you don't need anything else but the iPhone. And I said, oh no, you definitely need good audio. The iPhone does not provide good audio by itself. You have to have some kind of a third-party system via the Lightning port. And have I struggled with that over the last couple of years.
I assume that she was I assume she was referencing the on the camera side, because you definitely need microphones. You definitely need proper lighting, like that demo video that they showed off cinematic mode. Like that was very well lit. That didn't just happen inside an iPhone. So
no,
but I fully agree. Yeah.
No, absolutely.
I would say for anyone who's interested in the audio side of iPhone filmmaking, though, they should absolutely look at what Apogee's doing with Meta Recorder, especially if they're looking for something that goes into Final Cut. So basically, there's a whole system that you can now use without even if you can leverage your actors' iPhones, for instance, and you can get something like the Apogee clip mic that is a very high quality lav mic that plugs directly into a phone. You use the app Meta Recorder, and it'll even add Final Cut roll information. And on top of that, you can even leverage, and this is especially useful for documentary filmmaking, you can even leverage a secondary iOS device to control multiple iOS devices in people's pockets using Apogee Meta Recorder. So you can link multiple phones, for instance, so you can have an interviewee's phone that's connected to a clip mic to another interviewee's phone that's connected to a clip mic, and control them, for instance, with an iPad. Meanwhile, you can be shooting with iPhones and connect something with a boom mic to the Lightning to XLR recorder or something along those lines. So there's a lot of ways to solve these audio issues in the iOS ecosystem. There's not nearly as much awareness around how to use some of these workflows, but they're definitely very effective, especially on the documentary side.
Absolutely. I've been working with audio for a long time with the iPhones. I finally got something that I think's working out pretty well. But I have a little mixer for my bigger setups. I have a little hardware mixer mounted to my gimbal, and I take audio into FireWire. I usually use the Rode Wireless Go 2 of those mics, and I have a third mic that I can use. We just got a comment that Andres says iOS Beta 1, iOS 15.1 Beta 3 just came out, native ProRes. There you go. How did Filmic beat Apple to that? Anybody know? I can't figure out how that happened.
Probably they saw the iOS update, knew what was coming, and were able to get the feature ready, and figured out how to enable it. So my question would be, now that that beta is out, whether this opens up a Filmic update that then allows to fix some of the problems that you were talking about with 30 frames versus 24 and some of the other limitations.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things, speaking of that, I have a OWC product coming today that I'm excited about. One of the things that I like going to see bands live, okay? You can't do that right now. You really you can't be in clubs comfortably, enjoy the night and stuff. So I started bringing the bands to my studio. Outside, they're playing in a garage, as you can see on this. These guys were here a couple of weeks ago. The problem is with I have a 2019 MacBook Pro, the 15-inch, not the 16-inch. The problem is I have 3 cameras hooked up, audio hooked up, etc. It won't stay charged. I have 1 hour before it completely drains, even if it's plugged into power. So I got the new OWC Thunderbolt 4 dock coming today that provides 90 watts of power. So hopefully that's going to solve that problem, that the MacBook won't just completely drain. It's coming here today, so I'm hoping.
It's the MacBook that's losing power while it's plugged in?
It's losing power because I'm running 3 separate cameras and audio. So in other words, I can maybe plug 1 camera in, 2 cameras in, but when I'm plugged 3 in, the charging can't keep up with supplying power, whatever the power requirements of the cameras.
I see.
And it actually drains. I have one, because I've done tests, and it actually drains. This is with the stock Apple power supply.
Are they all iOS cameras?
No. I have a GH5 and then 2 iOS cameras.
And it's charging. It's providing power to the iOS cameras and the GH5.
Well, one of the iOS cameras is HDMI. I use Filmic Pro Clean HDMI because that one's about 30 feet away, so I have to run HDMI cable. Lightning cable is not that long, and then the close one is Lightning, and then the GH5 is also HDMI. GH5 is also supply the audio, but I've been testing this, and it drains the battery. It can't keep up, so I'm hoping the dock is going to help with that.
Where are you running all the cameras into? All the camera video feeds are coming into
Camlink 4Ks.
Okay.
Elgato Camlink 4Ks.
Right.
So it's a common problem. I've seen it talked about before. When you connect too many things, it can't keep up charging the battery at full capacity and whatever other power requirements are. So I'm hoping the dock's going to help with that. I'm hoping 90 watts should be able to take care of that for me.
It might be worth getting a little video switcher too. Just take all the video load off of the MacBook.
Well, look, I'm getting the M1X 16-inch. It's going to come out any time now. That's what I'm going to be getting. That's what I'm buying this stuff for, right?
All right. Well, yeah, hopefully that handles it.
Well, it should be a lower power requirement, right?
I mean the
you would
chip
think,
itself, right?
Then the Intel version.
Yeah.
So the Intel version is like 85 watts or something. The one I have, 85. So I'm hoping the M1X, which is they're not going to announce it next week, because usually they give the press release 1 week in advance of the event. There was no press release yesterday, so I'm presuming if it's going to be, the press release will be next week, and then the following week will be the event, or it'll be right before the summit, or who the heck knows. When I met both of you guys in 2016, Thursday was the first day of the summit. Wednesday, Apple announced Final Cut Pro 10.3 at the 2016 brand new 2016 Touch Bar MacBook Pro event. They announced, Apple announced a brand new version of Final Cut Pro at one of their events. So here we are in 2021. We got a new MacBook Pro coming out. hoping there's going to be some Final Cut Pro news around that event somehow.
Yeah. Well, also, I mean, we'll see. Hopefully,
Right.
but with the cinematic mode in the iPhone, my understanding is there's stuff that you can do in Final Cut Pro, but that version is not yet released.
It is
I would
not.
imagine that is. It sounds like there's definitely something coming. I can't imagine that we won't see some aspect of that, slider that was promised in the iPhone demo coming there, and being able to see that in real life. And, my guess is if they're going to do that, there'll probably be a few other things that they're going to show as well.
Yeah.
This is going to be a live feed, so like my instinct is that this will probably be worth watching.
Are they going? You're talking
yeah.
about the Apple at the summit, right, Sam?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are they going to be all together this time? Because last year they were all separate in their own separate offices.
I believe, I don't even quote me, I'm not totally certain, but I heard something that it's from the Steve Jobs Theater, so it sounds like there will be doing something from the
good.
Steve Jobs Theater.
Oh, good, good.
That is the rumor. I feel like that's what I heard somebody say. If I'm wrong, then I
No,
will
of course.
gladly admit to being wrong, but I'm,
No, of
I'm
course.
pretty certain that they will be doing something from the Steve Jobs Theater.
Well, seeing that right off the bat, that is fantastic. Because, like I said, last year they were, we were in much worse shape last year because everything was going on. We didn't know what was going on, and supply issues and everything else. So they were in separate offices last year. They were at the spaceship campus supposedly, but everybody spoke in their own cubicle office. So this year, I'm hoping, that sounds fantastic. But even if they're going to get together, no matter where they are. Speaking of which, that's one of the other big things about going to the summit in person, is seeing the presentation live and meeting with that group of guys and gals on the Saturday when they came to meet with us privately. That was one of the big.
I'd say we've all taken for granted, I think some of that stuff that, I think probably the second we're allowed to get back in person again, there's definitely something to, I think, that we would all acknowledge that we've missed from the live experience. There's only so much, I think we're all a little bit tired with our screens.
Yeah. yes. No, absolutely. So when I got the iPhone 13, look, I just put out two or three quick movies. I wanted to do the cinematic thing, okay? So I did that. I wanted to do ProRes. I'm not doing no high-tech comparison of bits and stuff. I just wanted to shoot a little ProRes. I had to use iMovie on the iPhone to edit that cinematic stuff. Boy, was that torturous. Compared to Final Cut. I mean, it's like I can't even use iMovie on the Mac. No, you have to use it on the phone. But no, Apple has pre-announced there's an update to Final Cut Pro coming. They did that at the September event.
So you can't even use it on Final Cut on the Mac yet?
No, nope.
Really?
Apple, no.
Interesting.
Nope. Apple announced at the September event in the press release with the iPhone 13, one of their little asterisks, it said it's going to be available in iMovie for the iPad and iPhone and a future update to Final Cut Pro. So once again, they've done that a few times. They've pre-announced versions. So no,
I wonder
you cannot.
if it's. I wonder if it's a Monterey thing. They've got the bones in iOS, but the issue might be in Big Sur, or you might need to update to Monterey, and then you can update to iMovie and Final Cut Pro for the Monterey version. I don't know. It's a question.
Right. Well, the thing is, normally Final Cut Pro goes back one OS usually, and it also supports older hardware as well. Tim Cook did say that they're going to continue to support Intel Macs for another 2 years. The OS is going to. So if the OS is going to, I'm going to presume Final Cut is going to as well.
Oh, I would assume it would. I'm just saying for that one specific feature of the iOS. Yeah, that might require. We'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see in the next few weeks.
That's true. I'm still on Catalina. I didn't update to Big Sur. I might jump right over to Monterey because I just didn't need Big Sur. Everything, audio units aren't working right, plugins aren't working right, so I never updated. I have a dual boot system for Big Sur, but I just stopped even booting into that. I'm just staying on Catalina. This is on Catalina. So,
Okay.
as a matter of fact, here, look at this. This is my screen. This is what I'm looking at right now. This is a
Look us all.
This is a 34-inch LG monitor, 21:9 aspect ratio. These are all the palettes that I'm keeping track of. You know, a lot of people have, I need an intern, right? I need an intern, somebody to assist, but I don't know what they do exactly. They could be in another room taking care of all this stuff. But this is what I do during live streams. I have all these palettes open and web browsers.
It's a lot to manage.
Yeah,
There it
yeah,
is.
it's a lot. I enjoy
Modern
it, though.
Control Center.
Yeah, I enjoy it. This is Ecamm Live. I enjoy being able to do that, but this is the maximum. I can't go any beyond this. This is what I've got. As a matter of fact, here, look. This is my backyard cam. I have a camera set up for my backyard. I can zoom in on the bird. I can zoom in on the bird feeder. A lot of times
Nice.
we have birds visit us. That's the backyard. Jane has her garden back there. I take care of the outside stuff. I have an acre and a half.
Yeah, there you go. So
Some good space.
You've been
Yeah.
taking it easy during the pandemic then.
Yeah.
This is
I quit. Listen, I was a post supervisor at National Archives in D.C., and I quit about a year before the pandemic hit. Just got tired of driving for 3 hours a day round trip. I just didn't want to do it anymore. Liked the job, didn't want to drive. Boy, am I glad I did, because riding on the D.C. Metro during the pandemic would have been a nightmare. You know, all those people come crammed into that little car. You know, it's just like, no. I can't be dealing with that.
No, I mean, I think the world is going to change a little bit. Like there's just, if you can get away from it, I think there's a lot of benefits to being remote generally. So it's really, if you can pull it off, you know, I highly recommend it.
No, absolutely, Sam. I did that at the National Archives. I did a lot of remote stuff. If there was a snowstorm coming up, I'd fill my hard drive up with a bunch of projects, take them home with me, edit from home, come back in whenever I could, and you know. So the whole deal with remote editing and stuff is really, really nice. I really enjoy that. Hopefully it continues. I know Apple's had a little bit of problems with people wanting to stay home and they want them to come in and all that, but
Well, it's interesting. I mean, you know, on the one hand, I think it's necessary for teams, you know, especially if you're adding new people to a team and all of that, it can be really difficult to build that chemistry if you are perpetually remote. So, you know, I think a lot of it depends on the job that you have, whether or not you can be particularly effective. I do definitely feel like, because everyone's remote, this country is operating at about maybe 50 or 60% of the efficiency. You know, everything is just kind of less competent than it used to be.
right.
So there's
right.
definitely issues with that. So I don't know. I don't necessarily know how we all solve that, but you know, I guess it depends on the job, and it depends on also a lot of people. Some people can manage getting everything done and being remote and being reliable, and others are completely irresponsible. So
That's exactly correct. That is exactly correct. So, you know, good thing about video editing for us. I mean, obviously I couldn't work remote when I was a carpenter. I had to go where I was. But now that, you know, video editing, audio, I'm editing podcasts and stuff. It's all remote. I have them ship me a thumb drive, hard drive, put it on Dropbox or whatever. I haven't tried Frame.io yet. It's, Brad Olson and I used Frame.io when we were working on off the tracks. But that was years and years ago. So.
Well, yeah, that's fantastic, and especially for video editors. I mean, and what Frame.io has done and continues to do and build is fantastic. It really has enabled so much, even well before the pandemic.
Sure.
But, you know, critical at these times. Yeah.
Yep. So let's just go over the rest of the schedule here. So, because I want to, let me see. This was mobile first, and this is Wednesday. And then Thursday, we get into the profession of production. Final Cut Pro for non-editors, for producers' eyes only. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, well, like we said, I think we're trying to cast a wider net for people who would be coming to a conference like this. In the past, it has been very focused on editors themselves, but there are so many editors that we work in whole teams, as we were just discussing. So having producers and the producer perspective is a key one from my perspective on how you create and establish your post-production systems, your workflow, your handoffs, your deliverables, and getting those voices into the conversation rather than just editorial or maybe post supervisors, but really hearing from producers and how you're setting up for these things, before shoots happen. Because a lot of times as editors, you'll just get handed a hard drive and with the message of, here, make a movie. So, having a little more planning, a little more pre-production, and even producers. There's not a lot of producers that, I shouldn't say not a lot, but there's a disappointing percentage of producers that actually plan for post-production in pre-production.
I did
which
that. I did. Yep.
Yeah. So moving post-production into the pre-production conversation is something that I think we still have a long way to go on.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a disaster. I mean, really, it's the big problem, especially the bigger the productions get, and especially in things like feature film or documentary, is unfortunately nobody thinks through the image pipeline. They only think about their part of the process and how to hand it off to the next person in the chain without really thinking about how you get to the end result of a movie and deliverable. And so it just leads to endless numbers of unnecessary problems, mostly just because nobody is really designing the image pipeline, and it just leads to unintended expensive consequences pretty much up and down the entire production chain.
Well, I think the sad reality is it's still a legacy framework. It's incredible that to even think this or say this, but I think it's still a workflow based around film acquisition, where the camera, captured a roll of film that was sent to a lab, and then that went to editorial. And so the production teams, it's just sort of this full stop of, well, we got, it's in the can. Now it's post's problem. And that is not an image pipeline. That,
right.
that is a costly bit of ignorance there.
Right.
And I can't tell you, I mean, we've started to have a lot of meetings that we make movies, with filmmakers who are getting ready to do independent films. And actually, we've even started the process of finally doing the pre-production meetings where I get the DP on with the editor. And they're all floored. Basically, they're just completely floored that anybody would talk about this stuff before. And they're like, this is refreshing. But I'm like, this is, your jobs, guys. Like, I don't know how to explain this to you, but
why is that the anomaly?
You should care about this. You should care. You've gone to all of these links to shoot with this camera and shoot with these LUTs and do all of these things. You should probably think about how that's going to impact or whether any of this is going to transfer over to post versus just complaining that it didn't look the way you thought it was going to look, when you see it in real life, or even thinking through how much it costs on the, post house side and all of these things that could easily be saved versus the modern tools that are now available. If anyone really thought about how these things could connect together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But
so
that's just something that is, I think people will. I don't know at what point. I was thinking that we would be way further than we currently are in this process by now, but we're just not.
Always hoping, yeah.
Yeah.
And probably because it's just not being taught in film school, quite honestly. I think the education and where a lot of these people are being taught and the things they're being taught is very outdated versus what's actually possible technology-wise. And I think only a very small section of the working industry even thinks this way. So that's I think that's part of the core of the problem.
I 100% agree. You know, one of the things I hear all the time in a lot of different areas, but it's a phrase that I've developed an allergy to, and you hear all the time that this is industry standard, as if that end of discussion. This is the way we do it. The phrase industry standard is a damaging phrase. I get that there are proven workflows, but you know, we are developing and moving into new ground every day. So to rely on industry standard is to rely on outdated information. Now,
I've heard that a lot when it comes to Hollywood.
Right.
People,
it's also just lazy.
Like, it's there is inherent laziness in that phrase, which is of course another aspect of it that drives me nuts.
Right.
Also, where are these standards exactly, and who's publishing these?
Right.
How does everyone decide what the industry standard is?
The industry is publishing them in the industry journal.
It's fascinating. It's I don't know, and I guess probably part of it is everyone's a freelancer, so they're like, why am I going to go fight this battle? Like there's no cohesive crew, and there's no group of people. It's like everybody's showing up, and it's like they want to collect their check, and they want, and I can understand that in this day and age. It's very important to be able to bounce from job to job. So what's really in it for anybody to try and fundamentally change an individual project? So that's why people say that, and they're like, hey, let's just get through the day. Let's get on to the next thing. I'm going to do my job, and whatever happens, happens. And that's the state, frankly, I think of professionalism at this point is, how do I just not look bad? But who cares what happens to the larger whole?
But that's too bad, though, isn't it? That's, yeah. I enjoy video editing. I don't want to have a job. I don't want to think of it just as 40 hours a week, and I'm not going to try to do things the best that I can. I enjoy it too much for that. I did with carpentry, too. I always wanted to do the best job that I could, not just, hey, I'm putting in 40 hours and I hate my job. So. Right.
There's definitely a survival mentality, which I get, but bringing it back, that's why we're having those sessions, getting the producer's perspective, so we can broaden all our perspectives. The editors, connecting with that perspective, and producers starting to hear more from other departments that maybe they're not as familiar with. So, because this right here is a good conversation to be having, and it's something that needs to get out to broader conversations.
Absolutely. I've had people on the show. By the way, we're going into our 7th year in January. And this guy over here was the first person on Final Cut Pro Radio, Sam Mestman.
Was that really?
Yes, you were.
Inaugural guest.
Episode 1.
Wow. Okay.
Congratulations on 7 years.
Yeah, 7 years in January, starting 7 years. Yeah.
That's amazing. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
7 years continuous, no breaks or. Summertime's the hardest time to keep it going, because this, like right now, right before the summit, because there's no news, it's like a moratorium on anything. We know something's coming, but nobody's talking about specifics. I am, because I'm not restricted in any way. I'm under no NDA or anything, so I continually, talk about things that I think are going to happen. That's what I enjoy doing. If I didn't have a radio show, I wouldn't have to worry about it. But since I do have a radio show, I do have to, talk about something over the summer. Summer's the worst.
Way to keep it fresh.
Yeah. And try to get interesting guests on, like you gentlemen as well. So one of the things is, you guys are in Philadelphia. You're 90 minutes away from me. 90 minutes away. So I suggest you guys, one of two things happen. You guys get in a car together, come down here, I'll provide food and beverage, or we can meet like halfway between somewhere. 90 minutes.
It's not that hard. This can
Yeah.
definitely happen.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a commute.
No,
It's a commute.
absolutely.
Yeah, people used to have commutes, so
Yeah.
this is totally doable.
Well, not only that,
so
but we
I-
can eat outside. We
Are
can
we
eat
gonna
out.
are we gonna do final are we gonna do a Final Cut Pro radio barbecue
Sure,
from your
sure.
and then we can see more in the backyard cam than just
Yes,
the bird
yes,
feeder.
yes, yes. Listen,
if we
I
get the
have
grill out there.
I have 4 more bands coming out here. So I do. I have 4 more bands coming.
All right.
One in next week from Saturday, and then one on Halloween, and then I have 2 coming the following weekend, which would be the last time because it's going to get too cold. So like I said, they stay in the garage, but the door's open. There's a small audience that we keep spread out with chairs. I have a big driveway area. We set up chairs. They can stay out there and watch. We invite, a limited audience, but we have a picnic table in the backyard. So
Well, we know at the very least Nathan McAvoy's here for the jams. So
Yeah,
bring him on.
exactly.
Bring him on.
Absolutely.
Look, and we can go old school and shoot one in person, and that's do it the old school way.
Yeah.
So one of these days we'll live from the studio.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Put things on the
Because,
script.
because 90 minutes is nothing. I've been to Philadelphia. I haven't been there for a while, but I've been to Philadelphia and then on the way to New York and stuff. So either Catskills. I've been to the Catskills as well. All of them down there. So let's just finish up the schedule real quick. The big picture and Apple. That's the big day. I presume that's going to be one of the most popular sessions is the Apple session. And the great thing is this is part of the free program. This is one of the big things.
Friday's going to be big. Not only is Apple going to be making their main presentation and showing us whatever that they have in store, but that's also when OWC is going to do their main session and kind of show other parts of the ecosystem that that they fill out beyond just Apple products, all of the things that OWC have, and I'm looking forward to that as well.
Right. So, Sam, the LumaForge, are they still called LumaForge within OWC? Or are they part of OWC specifically? I mean, it seems like LumaForge is a more professional level, perhaps?
So, okay, it's all OWC. Everything
Okay.
is OWC.
Okay.
Basically, where this is all headed is, and part of the reason that it was tactical for OWC is it's about solutions, right? At a certain
Yes.
point, and what's interesting for the LumaForge team specifically is OWC makes a product for everybody. I can't tell you how many times at LumaForge people would be like, hey, I really wish there was something you guys sold that I could actually afford. And, at OWC, literally, they make everything from small thumb drives. But it's basically everything that you would buy normally, except there's also a shared storage server. And what the LumaForge team is specifically working on is how to connect this into an ecosystem and how to solve problems outside of, just shared storage. But how do you get, creatives working together across the entire product line and making these things feel a little bit more seamless? At some of the other companies, you just kind of make a box and you sell it. And,
Right.
and our
Right.
our job is to figure out how to get these products to solve problems for people and, extending remote and in person and hybrid workflows and all of these things. There's different products up and down the product line where when you start to use these in combination and in tandem with each other, you can solve some big problems. And especially with certain things like NVMe and how that's going to impact the speed at which we all do things and the capacity and there's things I can talk about and things I can't talk about, but
Sure,
fundamentally, OWC has some. When you say it's the jellyfish is a little bit higher end, I would question that, and part of this is maybe OWC's fault of not necessarily getting the word out about some of these products. But there's things like the Thunderblade at OWC that is the fastest physical drive that you can buy, and it's 4 sticks of NVMe in a box up to 32 terabytes. And
Right.
this is an insanely fast drive that can do 4K OpenEXR, multiple streams, and it exceeds actually. Thunderbolt is the bottleneck, not the drive itself. And so at this point, things like the Envoy Pro, is NVMe that is, for up to 4 or 8 terabytes, depending on what you're doing. There's crazy things that like this company makes that we're connected into now. And so the question, right, is how do you present this ecosystem where no matter where you are as a creator, you can get the right product to solve your problem. And that's kind of our task, is to start really creating a hardware ecosystem for people that, solves problems no matter where you are and gets you the right thing for whatever it is that you're trying to do.
And
Right.
I think the excellent gap that OWC fills. Obviously, there's Jellyfish and their Thunder Bays and Thunder Blades, which are huge, fast storage, reliable storage solutions, and all the way down the line, to their not just NVMe and SSDs, but all the portable drives that we as digital creators use and rely on. But it's that middle space between, the Apple CPU, whether it's a MacBook Pro or an iMac or whatever, Apple has been moving more and more towards, Thunderbolt only
Right.
ports. And OWC makes a fantastic set. Pick your dock. There's a travel dock that you can
Right,
stuff in a
right.
bag, and it connects you to HDMI and USB-A. Or there's a full Thunderbolt dock. Where it connects you to everything and your SD card readers and all the little ports that we don't have in our laptops. Which for me, I like that. I like that. I'm not carrying around a bunch of ports that I only occasionally use. I'd rather be able to stay lean. But OWC has all of these intermediary devices. And that's really the overall ecosystem that I think Sam is talking about, and some of the great strength of what their product line is.
So Apple has done a turnaround over the last 2 or 3 years. They were getting thinner and thinner and smaller and smaller. And then they hit a roadblock where they couldn't get the performance out of these small, thin devices. And now the iPhone has bulging lenses on it, right? And they made the Mac Pro. I had Gary Adcock on here before the Mac Pro came out. And I said, Gary, we know the Mac Pro's coming out. Apple has had their little thing with the different people about it. What do you think about the PCIe slots? He goes, well, it better have 4 PCIe slots. And it has 8. Nobody saw that coming. It has 8 PCIe slots. So, and then the iPhone is bigger now. It stopped being smaller. MacBook Pro, which went down to just 4 USB-C/Thunderbolt 3 ports. Supposedly the new one's coming back out with HDMI, with a card reader, with MagSafe, plus Thunderbolt. So they went in one direction, and now they're going back to what I call a more professional. We need, where's the beef? Remember that commercial, the Wendy's commercial? Where's the beef? We don't want it smaller and lighter and skinnier. We want, power. We want bigger lenses. I'm glad they're doing bigger lenses in the iPhone and bigger cameras.
Yeah, it's right there in the iPhone 13. I'm sure they could have made that device smaller.
Sure.
They've reduced the size of everything. But, I think we've reached the point of diminishing returns on size. We want something that, if we drop it, it's not going to snap in half. And this is the toughest, strongest glass on the thing. And, I think we'd rather have that than, another 16% thinner.
Right.
And now, again, the internal structure supports ProRes recording, which is fabulous. But instead of making it smaller, they made it able to hold a terabyte of space, so you can actually record ProRes for any length of time. So I think it's already happening, and it's good to see.
Absolutely.
Well, and Richard, I've got to go in a few minutes, but what I'll say on that is this, which is, even down to the new iMacs that they released, the M1 iMacs and the MacBook Pros, those are great editing machines now. And so a lot of this is about what are you trying to do and which, computer is right for that work. But, in schools, for instance, those basic iMacs, those are anything a kid would ever need. And I think what they're really starting to settle into, and I think we're going to start seeing these product lines converge, right, is you're going to have the iPhone, which is in many ways your camera and is going to shoot the primary amounts of your video. You have a few peripherals there. Then you're going to step up to a laptop or, an iPad. And I'm trying to figure out when an iPad or a laptop and whether those are probably just going to converge at a certain point or when you would have one versus the other. I'm not completely certain at this point. But then from there, the iMac is going to be the standard desktop, and you might have one or two different flavors of that. And then you're going to have the Mac Pro if you need to do something crazy. And that's really all you kind of need at this point. And then probably there'll be an aftermarket in terms of kitting these out for possibly other purposes. But this really doesn't need to be that complicated at a certain point. There's really only 4 or 5 different use cases for these things. And then it's how you're going to wrap these. And I think, and now that the computing power is so intense and that you can really do, it didn't used to be this way. Like, a lot of these machines used to be very underpowered, but they're not anymore. You can do the majority of what people need to do with video with really any product in the Apple product line.
Right. The M1 Macs, as good as they are, they're still entry level. Apple themselves has called them entry level. The Final Cut Pro team did last year because they only have 2 Thunderbolt ports.
Well, they totally are. But, here's the thing. Entry level used to mean can't edit video.
Yes.
And entry level now means like, okay, you can edit video with this.
Yes. No,
like the MacBook Air was not an editing machine. Whereas, if you have an M1 Mac, like, my wife has one, and it works great for the stuff that she needs to do with it. And that's a big change versus what the entry-level Macs used to be able to do, at the very least.
Right. So we got one comment before you leave, Sam. The Doberman guy says he would love Final Cut Pro on an iPad Pro. What do you think about that?
I think it's going to happen at some point, and I can say that because I'm not under NDA or anything like that. So I have no idea, but I cannot imagine that Apple would not want to have some sort of professional editing platform on iOS as these things start to converge. They've got iMovie on the Mac. Like, there's just no reason for there to not be some kind of... They know that, like, so many people are now making content for mobile devices and all of this stuff, so why wouldn't there be a clean way to make content on your mobile device that is provided to you by Apple? It seems crazy that they wouldn't.
The only odd thing is, in the spring event, Apple spring event, they showed LumaFusion 6 times. 6 times they showed a third-party app at an Apple event. That is highly, highly unusual. They usually don't do that many times. I counted them because I have the LumaFusion people on the show all the time, and I did a greatest hits of that. I did a condensed version where they put all the LumaFusion clips
great,
together
into
one.
The LumaFusion people are phenomenal and fantastic, and I actually think Final Cut has its work cut out for it to mimic the functionality that you can do in LumaFusion on a small screen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Anything else you want to do in closing? I want to say in closing, everybody go to FCP Global Summit.com. Sign up for free. Free. F-R-E-E.
I just want to say thanks for having us, Richard. It's great to be back on. And,
absolutely.
Appreciate the time, and, thanks for everything you do.
Thank you, Sam. I appreciate everything you guys do. But let's definitely get together. You guys are not going to move back to the West Coast anytime soon, right?
No.
Okay.
Not anytime soon, yeah.
Well, then there's
absolutely
no reason why we can't get together. Like I said, I'll make the offer to come down here when I'll provide the beverages and the food, or we can meet someplace halfway in between, because it's 90
See you
minutes.
down in DC. We'll
There
find
you
a way.
go.
That's right. Yeah. Well, thanks, Richard. This is great, and yeah, I'll echo what Sam said. You know, it's great to be on here, and the energy that you keep going in the Final Cut Pro community, and having this being on here and being able to talk to you about it as we ramp up into this summit this fall is exciting. I think we're going to have a lot of exciting stuff at the summit, and we're looking forward to seeing everybody there.
Absolutely. And like I said, I'm going to be giving away one or two VIP passes for the summit as we get within a couple weeks of the summit, which is this second week of November, right? That's when it is. Yeah.
Yes. Start November 8th through the 13th.
Yeah.
And yeah, stay tuned for more. We've had a couple big announcements with the initial schedule and Vince Vaughn's session, but there's more to come.
Excellent. Thank you, gentlemen. I sure appreciate you taking your time out of your busy days to stop in here, and the whole audience appreciates, I'm sure. And we'll see you.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you. We'll see you at the summit, if not before.
We'll see you at the summit.